check, check. 1, 2, check, check.
Good evening. Hello? Is the microphone on? Oh, it is. All right, wonderful. Welcome to the 2025 Old Time World Championship Piano Playing Contest and the New Rag Contest. We're going to dig right in by drawing for order of performance. We have had one withdrawal, and that's David Lyon-Weber is not going to be here this evening. The remaining 8 of you, I think there are 5 composers that will be playing their own pieces, and then 3 who will have surrogate pianists playing. But we will announce the order of performance now. Ted, would you draw, and Adam, would you announce? They do this every year.
And of course, the first one I can't pronounce. But it's Luca Ciraldo, is that correct? Okay, Luca, you're up first. And this one I know. Second, Jared Szabo. Faye Ballard. Okay. What's this, sir? This one's in Braille. Monty Suffern. And then Janice Jurgensen. Let me see.
He's going to tear it in half.
Lilian Tao. Justin Hack. And the very last one will be Max Libertor.
So we are going to do a couple of things here. The cards for the performers are going to be organized. And while we do that, I would like to bring the guy who gave me this hat to hold that I want to desperately give back to. And I want to ask Ted, the New Rag Contest started all the way back in 1997. Why?
We had people who weren't capable, perhaps, of reading a score to somebody else's rag. And a lot of people thought they could write something just as well. And so with a cutoff date way back then, it was 1929 instead of 39, people thought they would do a good job if they could write their own rags. And so because there was a cutoff date, there was no chance to hear more modern music. And we ended that, 28 or 29 years ago with the first New Rag Contest. And that's why we did it. It brought more people in and certainly opened up a new channel that wasn't just all yesterday's facts.
And it goes a little bit beyond that, because Ted didn't win the very first contest. The honor for the first contest went to a pianist named Gail Foner. But in 2004 and 2005, Ted thought that he could write a couple of rags, and in turn, he did, and they won. So we have our first, I think, 2-time winner.
I gotta add that 3 or 4 years ago, I entered a rag, and I got 5th place out of all of the contestants that were here. But there were 2 piano players that were classically trained in new music, a lot more than me, and I felt really good that I wrote a better tune.
Well, one of the very interesting things about the New Rag Contest is how diversely this can be interpreted. What makes a new rag? And this is something that the judges, of course, have to weigh. They need to figure out what exactly they are looking for within a new rag composition. Now, of course, there are rules and guidelines, and within those rules and guidelines, there are a couple of very specific stipulations, such as there must be at least three or four contrasting theme ideas. And then there are some other ones that suggest that creativity of harmony and melody are encouraged, and awareness and adherence to traditional form is encouraged, which might seem very much at cross purposes. And yet, year after year, we have just wonderful, wonderful compositions that have come out and demonstrated how broadly this thinking can go. So, without further ado, I probably should bring onto stage our first competitor. And Luca Ciraldo's piece, I think this is called Old Daffers, is going to be played by Jeremiah. I beg your pardon. Drawing the blank. Please welcome to the stage our 2025 card girl, Evelyn Rose Hutchinson. And please welcome to stage the pianist for our first composition, Jeremiah Steele. Luca Ciraldo and Old Daffers. And as the judges are working through their score sheets, I'm going to tell you a little bit about the history of the contest year by year. the first handful of compositions that won the New Rag contest were neither notated nor particularly adventurous in those aforementioned categories of melody and harmony. But along came a piece called, I think, Mojo's Marbles, written by a former contest winner himself, and that was by Dan Moyard. And I remember that really set the tone for being a little bit braver in testing the waters to some compositionally creative and unusual ideas. Then a contest performer that has been connected to the contest for years and years and years, who is not with us this year, also became, I actually have to correct myself with Ted Lehman, because it was actually Bill Edwards that was the first two-time winner of the New Rag contest. And I'd like to just play, across the evening, I'm going to play some A strains of past winners of the New Rag contest. And then depending on how time goes, Adam Swanson might chip in a few as well. Starting off, though, with Bill Edwards' Wiener Schnitzel Rag from 2002. Then things really got crazy, because in 2003, a theory professor from the, I think, the University of New Hampshire came with a piece called Stride Right. What a fantastic piece. I am not going to attempt to play that this evening, but I've actually recorded that. That's, you can find that on one of my albums. What is it? Of course, it's Stride, but it's also based on the Rite of Spring. And it's just so well done. And it was also an homage to Igor Stravinsky, not just to his Rite of Spring, but to the fact that Igor Stravinsky was the first classical music, one of the very first classical musicians to take the ragtime style and use it as a classical form, which was also in its own way a new way of thinking. So one of the ways that we can look at the contest this evening is that almost everybody in this room is invested in this ragtime style. And we are the stewards of this style. As 10 years from now, these are the pieces that are going to be talked about and played in festivals alongside the works of Scott Joplin and Joseph Lamb. 10 years ago, the pieces were being written that I am still very familiar with hearing year after year. So this is really kind of an auspicious moment. And with that in mind, I would like to bring onto stage Eve, who will announce in big green that our next pianist will be Jared Sabo. Would you like to say anything about your piece?
Thank you very much. My piece that I'm going to be playing for you tonight is Gateway Rag. I wrote this piece in a thematic, or thinking about it thematically, sort of like Wall Street Rag by Scott Joplin. So each section is supposed to represent a different element or situation in the gateway city, St. Louis. So, for instance, we have the Gateway Arch, of course, the Rosebud Club, where Scott Joplin and Tom Turpin played, the 1904 World's Fair, and we even have the ending of a Cardinals baseball game.
I'll remember to have this on when I need to talk and off when I shouldn't. Gateway Rag by Jared Sabo. Jared Sabo and the Gateway Rag. Thank you, Jared. What a wonderful piece. After Stride Right was composed in 2003, the next 2 years were the 2 years Ted Lehman took off what at the time was the remarkably small trophy. And it was exactly that. It was about this tall. We don't have the hardware out here. We need to get the hardware out here. That'll happen in between the next couple of pieces. But in 2007, That was the first year I came to the contest. And I came with a good friend of mine, and for those of you that know me, know that I would not be involved in the ragtime world at all were it not for another pianist named Martin Spitznagel. He and I went to high school together. I was a year older than him, but we would spend our lunch times playing rags at each other. It actually got to a point where either one of us could play any 4 measures of any Joplin piece, and the other would be able to identify the piece, which got really tricky after a while, but it was a good game. We can't do that anymore. But in the first time that we came to this contest, we were asking each other, what does one want in a new rag? What is expected at this kind of contest for the new rag contest? And so he convinced me that the thing to do was to come as close as possible to writing a classic rag in the style of Scott Joplin or Joe Lamb or James Scott. And that's exactly what I did. And so he won the contest. And he won the contest with a stuffed animal being his inspiration. It was a red elephant that he had won at a carnival that sat on top of his piano called Eubie. So he named the rag the Red Elephant Rag, and after he won, somebody congratulated him for being such a good Republican. It wasn't expected, but I would love to play just the A strain of the Red Elephant Rag. The following year, Martin was not able to attend, but I better stop the story here and bring Eve back on stage to announce our next performer, Faye Ballard, who will tell us about the piece she is about to play. Long walk across the stage. Faye Ballard, everyone.
I said, and short legs, too. Oh, well, it's good.
I didn't say that.
I know.
Tell us about the piece you're about to play.
Where to start? This is actually my first time trying the new rag competition, so I'm very excited to premiere this piece for you. This was actually commissioned by and written for me by my dear friend, Dr. Christos Tsados. He also, bless his little heart, dedicated it to me, and I swear I did not ask him to do this title. I will swear to you on a stack of Bibles, music books, or whatever, but the piece is titled Faye's Ragtime Frolic.
Faye's Ragtime Frolic. Faye's Ragtime Frolic. A fantastic piece. Let's see. We have a little bit of scoring going on, so I probably ought to move on with what happened in 2008 after Martin left me hanging. He sent me back and said, "There's no politics in music except for all the politics in music." And actually, if we think all the way back to some of the things that Scott Joplin was writing all the way at the turn of the 20th century, pieces like The Strenuous Life and Wall Street Rag, these were definitely pieces that reflected the political atmosphere of the time. So since Martin was unable to attend in 2008, he said to me, "You need to write the Blue Donkey Rag, and it needs to be a pair." So that's exactly what I did. And it did win. So here's the A strain-ish of Blue Donkey Rag. So I thought after that I would step away from politics, at least within the New Rag contest. And I came back the following year and won with a piece called Mocha Monkey Rag. And since there's still a little bit of time, I will shoehorn that one in. The saga continues after Eve brings out a name for her next pianist. And I'm looking around and I spy him. Please welcome to the stage Monty Suffern, truly a familiar face to this contest. Well, Monty, tell us about the piece you're about to play.
Well, I claim that this is absolutely from the 1920s because the chord structure, and you know that chord structures cannot be, what's the right word, Bill? They cannot be, you know. He does know what it is.
They can be anything.
They can be anything, but they cannot be copyrighted. Oh, so the chord structure is stolen direct from Sigmund Romberg's The Desert Song, which was about a 1925 thing. And it's just got a really pretty little thing that my mother used to play, and so now I play. But I'm not playing the Desert Song, I'm playing a rag based on that chord structure.
What is its name?
This rag is called Tabitha II.
Tabitha II by Monty Suffern. Monty Safern and Tabitha too. Thank you, Monty. As the numbers are processed, I would like to welcome back to the stage, for the first time this year, Mr. Adam Swanson. So before we get to Adam's piece, the chronology was, I did not get the third win. A new pianist came along, nobody had ever heard him play a rag before, named Jacob Adams, and he won the new rag contest right out of the gate. So I won my third contest the following year. I took it back. But I will come back to one of Jacob's pieces later, because after my third win, turns out this fellow was the next one. So
After 15 years in the contest.
15 years in the contest.
To win the new rag.
It took him that long to win the new rag, because how many times had you entered the new rag prior to this piece?
Oh, half a dozen maybe?
One. Adam Swanson, everyone. So, what Adam did not do was name his own piece, but it turned out he was so enamored with the name of his piece that he went to work at the place it was named after. That was the Strader Shuffle. Adam is now house pianist at the Strader Hotel. Adam is many things. I think we probably ought to bring out Eve and announce our next piece. Here I am to announce the next piece, and I'll be playing it. The piece was composed by Janice Jurgensen, who lives in Minneapolis and is approaching 9 decades of life. So I found it absolutely remarkable that she was able to send a piece over, and I am very happy to share it with you this evening. This is Ramblin' Rag. This was Janice Jurgensen's Ramblin' Rag. And I would like to turn back now to Jacob Adams, who not only has written, boy, I don't know how many rags he's written by now, probably in the neighborhood of about 100. I mean, he's remarkably prolific. But they're tremendously difficult pieces. And so when he asked me to play his, let's see, this was the split personality rag, it became the first rag written for the new rag contest that was not performed by its composer that won. And I thought I would play just a little bit of the A strain of this one. Split personality rag. I suppose now is also as good a time as any to go through several announcements that need to be made this evening. So, first of all, let's see. Tomorrow, silent movie lunch. There are 15 seats remaining if you have not gotten your tickets to the silent movie lunch. The best way to do that at this time is to order it online. That will reserve your space. If you do not reserve it online but would still like to attend and are still hoping tomorrow morning that maybe one of those 15 tickets remain, see somebody at the front desk and they might be able to help you, but don't count on it. Get your tickets tonight. Second, following this contest, I and the 3 judges and Portia, our wonderful, lovely judging assistant, will recuse ourselves to the judging room and deliberate and come back with the results of the contest. And following the contest at 8 o'clock are the afterglows this evening at Old Henry, which is actually walking distance from here. It's about half a mile straight into downtown on right off of the main square. Or you can drive. And of course, playing tomorrow begins at 9 a.m., but the drawing for all participants, be they junior or regular or senior, the drawing is at 8 a.m., so you need to be in a classroom about halfway down that hall at 8 a.m. We are ready for Eve to bring out our next player. Please give a very warm welcome to a new face at this year's contest, Miss Lillian Tao. Would you tell us a little bit about your piece?
Of course. So my piece today will be titled The 17 Rag. And so the reason it's called this is because I got the inspiration to write this piece from a Swedish folk song that I learned to sing the English translation of. I'm not going to try and butcher the Swedish for you, but the English translation that I learned is titled When I Was 17. And the A strain of my piece, the main melody for it, is actually derived from like the refrain of that Swedish folk song. So hope you guys enjoy. Thank you.
17 rag? 17 rag. 17 Rag by Miss Lillian Tao. So, in between a number of these compositions I had mentioned, in the mid-2010s, I guess this would be now, Vincent Johnson asked me to play a couple of his pieces. Now, Vincent is about the least competitive person I can imagine. So the very notion of him participating in this was always kind of a stretch, but it was an opportunity for him to share some of the enormous quantity of music that he had been writing so diligently. So by the time he was 20, he had already written some 30 or 40 really sophisticated pieces, primarily at that time in the novelty style. And he wrote a piece that came in second place to Mr. Adam Swanson's Straighter Shuffle, and that was the Red Envelope Rag. And a few years later, he gave me a piece, actually, to which he dedicated to me, called And So Forth, which, of course, was very much a play on words, which he is so good at, a play on words of the novelty style of, playing in parallel fourths. So here's the A strain of And So Forth. And moving right along, we come next to Eve and a Card, and another new face this year. And I can see our cameraman is focused on the card, not quite realizing that so close to him is Justin Hack. Hi, Justin. Welcome to the New Rag Contest. Tell us about what you're going to play.
All right. Well, first of all, I'm so happy to be here. My rag is called, what is my rag called? Sorry. My rag is called Broken Toy Box Rag, and I took inspiration from two Bills, Bill Edwards and Bill Bolcom. So.
It's an auspicious name in ragtime. Justin Hack. Justin Hack and the Broken Toy Box Rag. So then there was a pandemic. And during the pandemic, we decided to actually go all in on the new rag contest. And as a result, we got a remarkable assortment of new compositions. And actually, Miss Sue Keller, I believe, was one of the judges in this case. This was the pandemic new rag contest, which meant, as in a departure from previous years, all scores were to be submitted. And it became a matter of reading and sorting through all of the scores that we had to deal with, which was a very different way of approaching it. The winner was somebody who drew as much inspiration from the works of Johann Sebastian Bach as he did from ragtime, and his name is Sam Post. The following year, when the contest resumed, he asked me to play another one of his pieces, and you can hear the influence of Bach in his writing in what was also, I think, the first winning rag that incorporated waltz rhythm. But since I'm only going to play the A stream, we won't get there. This is the Angel's Watch Rag. And by the way, for those of you that don't know, the Angel's Watch is the incline that rises up above the city of Los Angeles. To round out our performers for the 2025 New Rag Contest, Eve will shock us all tremendously by announcing the name of the one pianist that we already know hasn't played yet. And an enormous thanks and welcome to the stage to our lovely card girl this year. He's here. Max Libertor, tell us about the piece you're going to play.
Well, I feel like, firstly, I want to kind of go into how I wrote it, because it's always been so interesting to me, not only in this community, but also just in general, that everyone thinks so differently. So I thought it'd be interesting to share. Essentially, when I write rags, I hear an idea in my head that I feel like is interesting, write it down, then work from there and figure it out. There's this interesting side effect in that I don't know how to play it because I just wrote it and I never actually play. I have like 24 rags I don't know how to play. But essentially, I got this idea one time and it didn't work. I tried to write it, like the first 4 measures of it. I thought it was great. I couldn't do anything with it. Then about 9 months later, coincidentally, I just had the exact same idea, even though it isn't similar to anything I've heard. But yeah. So I wrote it out. I thought it was great. Then I had to learn it. But yeah, so this rag that I wrote is called Formulaic Rag.
Max Libertor and Formulaic Rag. Max Libertor, Formulaic Rag. And as the judges are wrapping up their final score sheet, I will bring back to the stage Mr. Adam Swanson, who accomplished a historical first when he wrote, along with Paul Orsi and Tom Lakeland, the first winning rag written in collaboration. And in the meantime, by the way, there's this. It's shiny, it's pretty. One of you wants it. Adam Swanson and the Transatlantic Rag. Well, not yet. Just an A string. See, what Adam does not realize, right? Hey, sit down. What he does not realize is that I am pressing him into indentured servitude at the piano while the judges go to the judging room, which we haven't gotten to quite yet, but we will in a moment. So, I do want to say to the 8 pianists that have played, and additionally the composers in whose case they represented, thank you. An enormous thank you. Composing is such a personal and intimate experience. And it's craftsmanship. You have this kernel of an idea, and you put that idea down. You have maybe 2 measures of melodic inspiration, maybe, or a chord progression that you just really like and you want to work with that chord progression or something like that. And then you tweak and you build and you refine and you edit and you come back and kick it around a little bit more, and bit by bit something takes shape. And then there's a point where it's composed and it's not yours anymore. And Max said something actually rather on point, I think, which was that the experience of playing his own piece was really rather separate from the experience of composing it. I can relate very much. And certainly in the case of Jacob Adams, he wrote stuff that was almost unplayable a lot of the time. In the case of Vincent Johnson, he wrote novelty-style pieces that were well above his own capacity as a pianist, but he did a lot of composing using MIDI. But the fact is, all of these different pieces we've heard today, and the pieces that have represented the New Rag contest in the past, are all those ideas of stewardship of the ragtime style. And I'm really grateful to every one of you that has contributed music tonight. So thank you so much. And we're going to get out of here and pick someone. And Adam's going to play and play and play and play.
Mississippi Roll On. I thought that was appropriate. What year? 1931. Great tune. Okay. See if I can stump you again. That's a piece called the Gin Mill Blues, written by Joe Sullivan, who was a great West Coast jazz pianist. What do you all want to hear while the judges are having their break? Free bird. Why did I ask? I thought we needed some of the real old-time jazz instead of contemporary rags. Coming right up. You know what? I think I could play Serenade to a Snake too. Let's see. I'll see if I can play both of them for you. Same time? No. Heck no. these pieces that Max asked for was called novelty piano, which started in the, well, early 20s, actually before that, Zez Confrick hitting on the keys, but that style morphed into what you might call the great Art Deco piano music that went into the 1930s and then even the 1950s. And this is a composer that I discovered. He's the greatest Australian composer of novelty piano music. He was kind of like Billy Merrill in England. And so that piece was called Serenade to a Snake, and this one is called Color Scheme. In the period. My modern music from 1943. Very modern. Let's do Frankie and Johnny. Frankie and Johnny, oh my. Who said that? Was that Dave? No. Monty. Well, why not? I'll play it for you. I have to go way back for this one. You know, I've done 2 different versions of this. I went back to the Jelly Roll Morton version. I think that's the best.
Adam Swanson, everyone. I knew I could count on him. Before we get to what you all want to know, somebody lost a room key. Whoever is in room 211 at the Holiday Inn, please see me after the contest. Oh, you can see me right now. We know that room 211 is, hey everybody, Justin Hack. I would like to thank very much all 3 judges. And this was not easy. This was one of the tightest score stackings of the top 4 entries to this year's New Rag contest. And as it happens, first place was a dead tie. And after judge deliberation, I am very pleased to award the 2025 New Rag to Jared Sapo. The first junior-aged competitor to win the New Rag contest, Jared Sapo. Congratulations. Jared, would you play it again? We're going to have one encore, and then I'm sending y'all to Old Henry because Adam Swanson is going to play the piano. But for now, Jared and an encore of
Gateway Rag.
And that's our show for tonight. Go get a beer. I'll see you in the morning.